Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Up North Outdoors. Today I'm going to be going over a little bit of trapping stuff here. I'm not an expert in any way, but I'm going over a couple tips, tricks, and just general things that I've learned over the years. I'd like to start out with, or I started out here in the beginning, trapping rabbits for my neighbors. I use just a simple cage trap like this with the drop down door. Simply move the door up, put the trigger in place, and then you have the pedal here, and that's all there is to it. It's no harm to the animal. Like I said, I started out with rabbits and squirrels. They'd pay me for every one that I got, and then I would just release it a little ways down the road. It was a really fun time and a great kind of first work/trapping experience as a kid. So that's just the simple cage trap, live trap, no harm to the animal at all. Great way to start and really good for any nuisance stuff, rabbits, skunks, raccoons, anything pretty much. Anything that's small enough to fit through this door can be trapped, you know, use any sort of bait. I use carrots and lettuce and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's the cage trap. So I talked about my first live trap, just cage, nice and easy, and then from there I progressed on into some bigger stuff. I did some coyote trapping for the past couple years. I have gotten 3 coyotes so far in the 4 or so 5 years that I've been trapping, so I'm not super good obviously and no expert. I usually start right around when gun deer season ends, so sometime in the end of Thanksgiving or so. Just put out maybe a dozen traps at most. It's really fun for me to get in the woods, and it's another way to look for sign and tracks. You know, I deer hunt, and it's awesome to look for deer tracks, and then when you're trapping for coyotes and things, you can see the coyote tracks or fox tracks, and it's still just as interesting to see those, and awesome excuse just to be out in the woods. So I'm going to start off with some of the anchoring systems. Right here I've got the earth anchor, goes into the ground with this stake that is used for all the earth anchors that you would have. It simply clips into the bottom like so, and then you go straight in, and then you use your hammer or trowel or whatever you've got here to pound it into the ground straight. And then when it lets go, simply pull up, and it keeps it flat like this in the ground. That way it's going to have a really hard time pulling out of any sort of soil or sand or dirt that you're in. This is really good, like I said, for loose ground, soil, mud, anything like that. It'll really hold when an animal is pulling against this. I would highly recommend it if you're doing the same trapping locations every year, because it's very difficult to get out. Obviously it's a stake that goes in the ground. You have to actually use a shovel next to it to dig this out of the ground. But very nice tool, good thing to have in your pack basket when you're going out. It's super awesome. Just a simple carabiner from this to your trap usually holds everything really nice. This is your standard rebar T-stake. It's good for any trap out there. I really like using these just because they're so simple to put into the ground and take out of the ground. This is a 24-inch, I believe, T-stake. They also make washer top ones, which are really nice for swiveling around. This is just really easy to pull out of the ground like this. You simply hammer it down through the loop that would be in your cable restraint or foothold or your conibear, anything like that. You simply use this, and it's a good anchoring system and really solid. I've had this hold coyotes plenty of times, and it's super strong and works great. It's a good, reliable tool. So that's pretty much it for the staking systems. Now we're going to go on to the traps. I put on gloves just for scent-wise. It's nice to have something in between as a barrier, because coyotes have super good sense of smell. It's just really good to have some sort of a barrier for scent. I use just rubber coated gloves. So I'm going to start out with the cable restraint. This is personally my favorite trap. It's super easy to use, super easy to take down, super easy to set up. It is light, simple, and it's just probably been around since the beginning of time, like the snare. So it looks just like a snare. Set it up just like this. The only difference is that a cable restraint, it will close only to here. This has it's called a deer stop, so you do not get a deer's leg caught in there. That's the smaller that the loop can go, so you don't have to worry about catching a deer by accident. They can pull free because their foot will slip right through here. And then it's a cable restraint because it's a relaxing lock. As you can see, I can simply pull this washer back and forth on here. So any animal that gets caught when it's in here, they'll tighten up like this over around its neck. But when they relax, it'll go back. So no animal chokes or dies or gets hurt at all with this. It's super humane, and actually in my state of Wisconsin here, it is the only legal snaring method that you can have. Snares are illegal here above ground, and it's just super lightweight. I would say in combination with something like this earth anchor, the cables, it's just super light. You could fit dozens of them in your bag or backpack or anything like that. Yeah, that's pretty much the main thing about the cable restraint. So next I'm going to talk about some footholds that I have used and that I've got. First and foremost here is a Duke number 2 foothold trap. An MB 550 foothold trap. And a Victor long spring. So these two are coil spring traps. They have the springs on the base right here, close and tight, coiled as the name suggests. Both sides with these levers that move down to open up the jaws. Coils again on this one. And this one is a long spring, so it's got this one long spring on the side. It's pretty easy just to move it like that. I actually picked this one up at an antique store. Really fascinating. It's got a old style of trapping tag right here. This stake would probably be used to nail into a tree or something like that. Usually something like this, smaller, be used for water trapping for mink or muskrat, something like that. I just like it as a really cool decoration piece, and this is the only long spring that I've got, so it's super cool for a demonstration. It just looks really neat on the wall as a decoration. The MB 550, I would say I've heard, and from what I found, I would think this is the best foothold for trapping coyotes. For land, it is a little bit more expensive, but it is definitely worth it. It is, I mean, as you can see, compared to the Duke number 2 here, this thing is much beefier. It's got lots of reinforcement on the jaws and everything else. A little bit shorter spring, but you can see the chain is a lot bigger on this one than this one also. These are both, you set them both using these jaws to push down. So I have used these 2 traps and my cable restraints as, that's what I've used for my coyote trapping. I started out using the Duke 2s, and then I found out about how good that these MB 550s were and how they're just much stronger in their holding power in a coyote. It's just going to be a lot better. You don't want to ever lose an animal or injure one or anything like that, so you definitely want to go for the best if you can. I'm not at all sponsored or anything, but this is just what I have found is one of the best traps, and what my trapping instructors taught me was one of the best traps to use also. Now I usually do a majority of cable restraints just because, like I said earlier, it's just easy to set up and take down, and it's quick and light, and I'm just not all that good. It's, it's a lot of time, and also your scent is really easy to leave on these because you're handling them so much and you're putting dirt on them and you're digging and stuff like that. I have never caught a coyote with any foothold, so that says how good I am about trapping or whatever, but I have caught all 3 of mine with the cable restraint. It's just super easy to set in the trail. I just open up the loop, set it on the tree, something right next to it, usually like some sort of a branch like this, stake it down, and that's all you need to do. I did not understand at all how people could possibly catch something with this. Just put a loop in the middle of the woods on a random deer trail or something. It's just crazy to me. But after you look for sign and you have an idea kind of where they're traveling from different food sources or locations, bedding areas, similar with deer hunting, you're looking for those travel routes, those runways between different habitats, different terrains. This is how I caught all 3 of my coyotes, and it worked really well for me, super easy, and I stick primarily with just cable restraints now. This is kind of my go-to trap. I've also got with me here some of the really basic trapping tools. You can go super in depth, and there's a million tools that you could buy as with anything. These are just my primary ones that I use. With the cable restraints, all you need is this. I actually picked this up at a old store. It was just secondhand. All it is a hammer and like a little digging piece of kind of a trowel on the back. So super basic, kind of an old piece of some old tool. A hammer would work just fine too. A lot of people use a special kind of 3-in-1 combo. It's got like a little shovel on the back and like a little scoop on the bottom and a hammer on the front. This works really great for me. All I need for cable restraints is just to pound in the stakes. That's all I've got to do with the tool. With the footholds, this back trowel piece would be used to dig out the bed for the trap, which is where the trap would sit on the ground, nice and flat and hard surface. That'd be used to dig it out. This is what I use for the coil springs, just to set them on. It's really easy. I can use with my feet. And so these are what trap the animal leg inside. So if I fold this up like so, my hand is completely safe right here. All you do is push the pan down until you hear the click. And then you're set. Then when this comes back down, you have a fully set trap. Some of the other tools that I've got here are this little cup. It's actually like from an old paint can, and I put it over the pan of the trap. I also have sifter. It is every land trapper's necessary item just for the dirt. After you set the trap in, you're going to go like this and sift all the dirt and debris that you've dug out of your trap bed and sift it right over your trap to blend it in with the ground. This is how I bed a trap. Got to make sure that the dirt is plenty far away and is the right size for the whole trap to fit inside. This looks like a pretty good size. And then I'm just going to want to get down to a little bit of a harder surface so I can properly bed the trap. I want to get everything kind of smoothened out and flattened on the inside, like so. And then I'm going to take the trap and then just twist it in to really set it solid there. And then I've still got my little loop here for the stake. I'm just going to take the rebar stake, bring it in, and I can simply push it. But then once you've got the trap in, bedded nice and solid, you're going to take your excess material right on the side here. You're going to put it inside of your sifter. Then you're going to take the little cup, you're going to cover the pan, that way you don't get any sort of dirt underneath. And then all you do is just sift right over the whole thing. And then we'll take our excess pieces on the outside and bring them around nice and solid. Don't cover the pan and kind of keep the jaws nice and loose. Then you're going to take the cup away and then just put a really light, loose layer over the pan, and there you're set. And that's how the trap works. As you can see with this trap, there's a gap between the two jaws here. This is because traps are humane. They allow plenty of circulation on either side. This is as far as it'll close. It's more like a handcuff than anything else. These traps are meant to hold the animal and not to harm them. So that's what that whole gap there is for. So maybe you can't even see it right now. The cable restraint blends in so nice. I just have it laying here on the ground. But it's definitely difficult for animals to see. So I'm just gonna set the cable restraint right here. All it takes is just to find some sort of little stick or branch like this, a little sapling, and all you gotta do is set it right there. Maybe find some sort of blocking material, some other sticks to put on the other side like this. Maybe that'll help deter the animal from going on either side. You find a little path to put it in right here. And then all you're gonna do is stake right through the little gap here in the hole. And you are all set to go with the trap. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or any tips for my trapping stuff, please leave them in the comments down below. Thank you again.